Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Knowledge and Power Show. We're excited to have you. Tonight, we're talking about
sacrifice and really acknowledge and being mindful of the sacrifice he made.
Sorry. What can you say?
Sorry about that, bro. I cut you off.
cut me off, man.
Cut you
We're
off.
talking
man.
about
You know
about
what
to
I
go.
had to say.
I felt a sneeze coming on, and my finger just kind of reacted, man. So go ahead and hit that again, just so that people
No,
will
I'm
know.
just saying, welcome to the show. And tonight, we're talking about conquering the effects of porn, give you some tips, answering your questions, and continuing the conversation from last week, just a little bit more detailed and more specific this time.
hey,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. So sorry about that. That's funny, but hey, we have been, on this track. Though we did talk about porn last week, but we've been on this track of a series called Broken Pieces.
Mhm.
And we titled it that because there are a lot of different things, and of course we can't cover everything that creates broken pieces in our journey, in our walk through life, but we did our best to try to capture a few things. We talked
Yeah.
about grief and loss. We talked about what else we talk about? I know we talked about porn. Another topic was, help me out, fellas.
Death, grief, was it?
Yeah, that was grief and loss. We did three. I think we did three different series, different topics under this Broken Pieces series. So I had to go back to the archive and remember what the other ones were. I switched over my device this week, so I'm kind of struggling with trying to go between two devices. I'm not all that tech savvy. Not because I can't, it's just because I don't have the patience for it.
Right.
But I just need to work when I need to work. So yeah, I have to go back and look and see, because all my stuff is from my old phone, and my new phone, I'm trying to learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do know we left off last week with a interesting question, and I said we are going to jump into that to start this week, but that question is kind of heavy, so we're going to hit it eventually. But I more so want to say something that we recognized last week, and not just us, but a couple of our viewers who are regulars noticed it also, is that we had a drop off in our viewing audience last week, and I don't know if it was because of the subject matter. Don't know, not sure, but I just want to talk about that just for a moment, just to say that if anybody was offended by it, or they feel like that's just not where I'm at right now, I just want to encourage people that any information is useful, not just for us, not just for you, the persons per se, but it can be used for somebody in our circle. And I think that we need to be open to being a collector of information.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, definitely.
Not just to benefit our world or to gain us the ability to get out of a situation, but to pass it along to that person that may call you up in the middle of the night, or that person that's just talking about the same rut that they find themselves stuck in. So this is good information, just to say, hey, I heard about different groups, different websites, different stats that may shed a little light on why you are where you are.
Right.
True.
Because it's real and it's out there.
Very true. Very true.
Yep. So that being said, this will be our last approach of that tonight. But I'll just start off how we normally do, man. How was the week? We can start real quick with that, and then we'll just jump into the conversation to wrap it up about, as you titled it, Nate, the conquering the
the effects.
Conquering the porn effect.
Conquering the porn effects.
Yeah.
All right.
My week was pretty straightforward. My wife went back to Michigan Wednesday of last week.
Yeah.
And so I've been on my own this whole week, staying busy and working, and had a chance to get out and do some things this weekend. Went to Charlotte's Auto Show.
Oh,
And saw some of those fancy brand new cars that are coming out for the next year.
Ooh,
nice.
They have some nice luxury vehicles there, some Maseratis, some Aston Martins, which I've never seen in person before.
Okay.
So that was cool.
What was your walk-away favorite?
My walk-away favorite was the Jaguar with a Gatling gun on the back.
They had that there?
A green Jaguar with a Gatling gun on the back.
Wow.
Gatling gun. Like,
What was the purpose of that, man?
I don't know. I don't know if it was like from a movie or something, but they had a real live Gatling machine style turret gun on the back of it, mounted on the back, and
mounted.
Yeah.
What was the car?
It was a green Jaguar, old school.
Mm.
And the running joke was, this is how you deal with people who can't drive in traffic. you get that on your car, man. Ain't nobody gonna try to cut you off.
Yeah.
Anybody can blow the horn at you.
Right.
But yeah, that was a cool show. And then this morning I got a chance to visit Elevation Church here in Charlotte. Got to hear Pastor Stephen Futrick preach and listen to the Elevation worship team.
That worship team was no joke, man. I always say they are bringing it.
Yeah, they brought it, man. The level of professionalism and the sound quality, and you can tell they put the time in to rehearse and practice.
They do, like professional concert.
Yeah. It was good. It was really good.
It's funny thing about it. Hey
guys, what's going on, brother? What's going on? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I know a lot of people, it's the funny thing about, people is that everyone has an opinion. That's Nita Baker. Everyone's got an opinion. It's one of her songs. A line of her song. Everybody has an opinion about something. So I know that Elevation Church, took the church world by storm, how it grew so fast.
Right.
But now I'll say in the last, couple of years or whatever, they've been really kind of coming after them for just kind of everything that they can find.
Yeah.
Right.
And, people are making comments, they're kind of pulling back. And, there's so much information out here through social media, YouTube and TikTok and, all these sites that you can view, that it's hard when you see all these comments being made. You just kind of got to see, you got to be comfortable with what works for you.
Right.
And what I said all that to say, because they're getting a big hit now. Man, their worship is for me. And not saying I like everything, but nobody likes everything that anybody brings.
That's true.
So that being said, man, I hope it was a great experience in the sense that you got what you needed word wise.
Yeah, I was glad I went. It was what I needed today. It helped me out. It helped my mindset.
That's good. And he does bring a great word for sure.
In his own right, what he talked about today was very helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. Jake,
good.
How was your week, man?
My week has been, spending money.
Spending money already?
Yeah, already trying to prepare for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Seems like I've been to the store at least 4 times, and each time that grocery bill is up there. So
This is the wrong time to be trying to shop for Thanksgiving stuff. Boy.
Exactly, man. Spend Thanksgiving at Cracker Barrels.
well, they're
It'd probably
closing.
be cheaper, man.
It might be. I heard they're closing stores. So
Yeah, I heard that on the radio that a lot of stores are going back to the old values and not being open on Thanksgiving.
yeah,
What?
That's good, man.
I think it's good, but I bet it's more economical than value.
Thanksgiving?
You know how stores are starting to open on Thanksgiving and be open.
Yeah, the stores.
Early shoppers and make more
Look.
money and get that holiday money coming in.
Christmas,
Yeah.
I can see open for Thanksgiving.
Man.
Because next thing you know, they're gonna be trying to shut down movie theaters.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like going to the movies on a holiday. I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do too. But I remember a
So-
time on Thanksgiving, you go out there, you go to visit your family's house, it would nothing be open but 7-Eleven, just like on
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Man,
Those
Nothing.
days.
look,
Everything was closed.
look.
Yeah.
Them jokers better go to work.
It was
I
about
like
family. Family was more important.
It was. And I
Mm.
miss those days too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they might have had some early morning hours just in case you forgot something.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, it was over.
Yep.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's what I'm planning. I put up the tree. I said
Oh,
I
you
was
already
going.
did?
I did because I wanted to do. I mean, we got snow, so I said, well, it's
Oh,
going
that's
up
right.
early this year.
You guys have snow.
Yeah, we got snow, Nate.
There's no snow
Woohoo.
here in Charlotte,
Yeah.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
No snow
Right.
at all.
No
Oh
snow.
well. I'm sorry, you guys. It's all gloomy looking there.
It's this
but,
beautiful sunny skies, blue
Oh, man.
skies, no
Well-
snow.
Well, hey,
You can still dream of a white Christmas.
I'd
Yeah.
rather have a green and brown Christmas.
but check this out. Next week we're gonna hit a couple of 50-degree days, a couple of 46. So we just gotta be patient and wait it out, and it's gonna switch and change.
I'm
I'll
glad
be there.
you
I'll
said
be
that.
there. I'll be there Wednesday night. Well, yeah, really Thursday morning, but yeah, Wednesday night. So
Right.
I'll be spending the holiday back in Michigan.
Okay. Because you love us
Right.
like that. Yeah, got it. Got
Yeah,
it.
there you go. That's what it is.
Mhm. Yeah.
Our boy was in Michigan this week,
Who's
Who
that?
that?
Fred Hammond.
Oh, was he?
Yeah,
Where was he at?
Detroit. He came.
Doing-
He was home.
Did he
He
do a
was-
concert or something?
He went to a game, and I don't know
Oh.
what else he did. But
okay. I thought he performed.
no.
No.
I don't know. Well, I don't know why else he was home, but he was back, and he
Okay.
was talking about the cold.
Yeah, boy. It's
Listen,
time, it's time to start playing his holiday album.
Oh yeah,
Best Christmas album I ever heard.
is that right?
I love it.
Okay.
man.
Cool.
No.
Well, I would
I'm
say,
good.
yeah, nothing special, intriguing for me this week. I was battling just an illness, so I was
Mm.
pretty much laid up all week. Still went to work.
Yeah,
Missed one day, but pushed.
yeah.
But yeah, so nothing intriguing.
Glad you pulled through it.
Yeah, I'm not 100% still now. Still got a
Okay.
lingering cough.
It wasn't
But-
that RSV going around, man.
Yeah, RSV been going around strong.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't going. I didn't go to the doctor neither.
Oh,
I
you-
just carried on myself. So,
Okay.
but yeah.
Mhm.
So let's jump into it. I had a few. I know a lot of people don't comment all the time like we want them to,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but I had a few calls and a few text messages that I read from last week's show. Some people were appreciative to the conversation that we brought,
hmm
and they kind of threw out some other angles.
Okay.
So I thought that we can probably hit that. But Nate,
Let's do
I know you mentioned some points or whatever that you kind of want to launch off into. So we can start there if you want to do that.
Oh, we can bring mine in later. Quick, go ahead and start with the people's concerns, the concerns of
Okay.
the people. And before we do that, let me just encourage you all to make sure you hit that thumbs up button as you're coming in and announcing that you're here, letting us know that you're here. Hit that thumbs up button. Share the video. This is important conversation that people need to
Yeah.
know about. Subscribe to the channel, and most of all, please join the conversation. Comment. We need to hear from you. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know your opinions. If you have any questions, please. Thank you so
Yep.
much.
Thank you.
Good deal. So after the show, throughout the week, I kind of got some comments that they talked about the dip down and the people that were jumping off, but they were also saying that the stigma of that topic of pornography is more so geared towards it hovers over men
Mhm.
more so,
It's mostly a
Um,
male problem. It's mostly a male
yep.
problem.
and
Historically.
Yep. And then I also realize, and I want to be conscious of this, that you have we're addressing a conversation, but it's an all guy panel.
Yeah.
And I wish that we could have a female join us, but that wasn't possible. I couldn't find anybody or bring anybody in. So that's why I just have to say, we have to just kind of, hear your thoughts, and you have to
Right.
join in us carrying this conversation by typing in your comments, so that we definitely will get them up, read them, and respond to them.
Yeah.
But one of the things that was said was that, a lot of the females look at porn as being disgusting, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but what they overlook is shows like The Oval or
Mhm.
Sisters. We can even go further back as Scandal.
Mm-hmm.
Those are shows that really bring
Yeah.
the intensity of being promiscuous.
Part of it, yeah.
Yeah, the softer side of it, or soft porn is what is also known in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
because there's really no filter now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with the ones I named for Tyler Perry, with Sisters and The Oval.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're showing a lot of a lot of skin.
A lot of
Oh.
skin. Huh? I've never seen those
So-
shows, but I've heard.
So
Yeah.
though people may feel like that's a lot easier on the eyes,
Right.
but it's still creating images that are jumping into your thoughts, and they begin to create curiosity in the individual, and it causes it to look attractive to you, and some people can entertain that world. Now it's not the hard, dirty stuff. It's just
Mhm.
more romantic.
Yeah.
It's packaged a lot
Yeah.
easier on the eyes, and I think that when you talk about eyes and what we view, what we
Yeah.
allow into the window of our eyes means
Mhm.
everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And we start developing these images, and from what we see in our mind, and they kind of
Right.
stick with us, and it's we walk around with them secretly.
Mhm.
So like we said last week, it's really not just a male issue, but
Mhm.
it can be laced and spruced up and romanticized
Yeah.
in these other formats or other shows as
Mhm.
being acceptable and okay. And that's what I
Mhm.
kind of want to hit on tonight.
Okay.
Man.
Yeah.
And that's good you said that about the image impacting the brain, because nothing goes away that enters the brain. It may not be in a prominent part of it, but it's in there
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that can
So
be triggered.
yeah, and and just the whole thing of all of us have a screen, TV, phone, and with the music videos now, if you come across music videos, it's in your face,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because they are addressing less and less on the music videos.
And I had no idea that even some mainstream social media sites are wide open as well.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that, Jake?
I mean, pornography is right there at a click of a button
Mhm.
Oh.
on mainstream social media. So if a child gets access, I mean, it's no
Right.
filter, there's no block, there's no lock.
Right.
It's just right there.
Right.
So
Instagram, Twitter.
mhm.
I don't know about Facebook so much, but yeah, mainstream TikTok, mainstream video. Mainstream social media. You can find whatever you need.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think about how back in the day, the stories or the soap operas that our
Yeah.
aunties and what they watched, we thought that was really something.
We thought
Yeah,
that
that
was
is true.
like steamy.
Those little love scenes that they
We thought that
Yeah.
was steamy. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that is.
So-
Go ahead, Nate.
But yeah, I think you bring up a good point about the romanticizing of and repackaging
Mhm.
for mainstream media. Yeah, men are visual creatures and are more stimulated by what we see.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be mansplaining for women, but just from what I understand, women are more emotionally drawn in and moved by what they hear,
Mhm.
and the romantic words, the romantic back and forth that leads to some of this steamy imagery is really what is more captivating for the
Build up.
the build up in the female audience
Mhm.
than standard pornography is for men.
Right.
You talk about music videos, music industry. I wonder, if the words that are being sung and what's being done in the videos have the similar type of effects on the opposite sex as porn does on men.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, and I always go back seemingly to the younger generation
Mhm.
because it's just like gangster rap per se. In the beginning, you wouldn't find too many girls that would just boom that in their cars, but
Right.
it became a thing. Whereas the girls, young ladies, started doing that, and it's the same with pornography. It seems like now they're using it for what men were using it for in this generation. It's
Yeah.
like the roles are switching. The girls are more hardcore than the guys now in some cases.
Mm.
Okay.
So
I came across because we didn't have a woman to join us on the panel, so I did do a little research, and I came across a website called Covenant Eyes
Okay.
for women, and I came across an article that said, "Don't think women struggle with porn. Read stories from 5 who have," and it goes on to say, "I struggle." I'm just gonna read a little bit of it. "I struggle. I am not the only woman who does. Maybe you do. Maybe you know someone that does. I was convinced that I was the only one. I thought I stood alone, and that sucked. I was ashamed of myself, and I felt like I was hiding all the time. The struggle is real. I get it. A boy introduced it to me when I was 14. It's like sinking sand with no escape."
Mm.
That was from one of the women. So it's like a group, and they put together. Then the lady that was over the group asked them to write out some thoughts that they had from what porn made them feel like. And these are real girls, real responses from females just like me who are beginning to speak out against pornography addiction. And one woman wrote, "Porn is not my identity." And then she goes on and says, I want to be seen for my passions, my interests, and my dreams, not my struggle, who I am.
Mhm.
I laugh and smile a lot. My favorite food is ice cream. Serving people is one of my greatest passions. I am imperfect, but hey, that's okay. That is my identity, not porn.
Mm.
Another woman, I'm just going to read 2 and now we can go off on something else. She says, "Society says porn's a man issue, but I'm a woman who struggles. I want people to be willing to ask questions. Stop making it taboo. Ask questions. Asking questions is not noisy. It shows me that you care. It tells me what I am going through matters. Ask me what it is like to struggle as a woman, or what has this struggle taught me."
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a bunch of women that are giving their side of the coin as it relates to, because they feel like, I don't know, I shouldn't be going through this because I'm a woman and women don't go through this. So
Right.
I thought that was a pretty good Covenant Eyes, pretty good
Wow.
website.
right,
Yep.
Yeah. That's unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Hmm.
I mean, what does that say about men, though?
What do you mean, Jake?
What do you mean
And
by that?
as far as where we are, of course, we're visual creatures, but the fact that they just deem this a male problem, like I said, historically, yeah, it is. And it probably was a man that started the whole thing as well.
Oh,
Oh,
What?
what you got?
I don't know. I don't know. I gotta stir the pot on that. I don't know.
You don't know? I don't know either.
You said it probably was. You made it seem like, yeah, a
Yeah.
Joker would do that. He would be the one to do that. I don't know, Jake. I don't know.
Mm.
Well,
That's all I gotta say.
It's
about it.
highly likely, but it's could be
yeah,
somebody else. Yeah, it could be.
I don't know because if you remember, well, I'm referring to a movie, Color Purple, when she went in the hole in the floor and pulled out the little picture of the lady,
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
and she
Mhm.
was like, "This don't look nothing like me."
Oh yeah, I
Oh
remember
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and so that was like vintage. That's way back then, or whatever setting that was. But I mean, if it was going on in that day and age, you know, who could have started it?
Yeah, who could
Yeah.
have started it?
Yeah,
But
that's a big
yeah,
question. I mean, it's been spinning from, man, I'm
Mhm.
sure centuries. I'm sure centuries. We just
many
can't trace it
centuries.
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I would even go as far as to say all the black and white, the silent films. Don't let that fool you. Because every time I see like the
Oh
little
yeah.
quick snippets of those, it seemed like they were just so innocent back
Yeah.
then. But come on now. I mean,
Right.
desires.
Yeah.
They've been out there as long
Right.
as you live in the flesh.
Exactly.
You're going to have desires, but it's something that you said, Jake, that kind of triggered something with me when you
Okay.
said about the Color Purple,
Hmm.
about how she looked at the photo and said it don't look like me. That's
Yeah.
another thing that can really cause an issue is that people begin to
Oh
um,
yeah.
judge themselves,
Yeah.
Mm.
Definitely that.
because
Yeah.
as we know that there is a fallacy and a big, it's fake. Everything's
Mhm.
lights, camera, action type
Right.
deal. And
Right.
Right.
people, for some reason, believe that everything that they see going on
Yeah. It's
is
reality.
real, is reality. Exactly.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Exactly. And then they begin to question or wonder, how come,
Yeah.
that's not me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How come I
That's
don't look
so
like
true.
that, or how come I don't perform like that, or how come
Exactly.
Hmm.
my girl or my man don't perform like that, and all of that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we begin to put that undue pressure on ourselves.
It
That's it.
produces
Um,
guilt and shame and
yeah.
Yeah.
resentment and envy, all kind of devilish stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
So
comes out of that.
Nothing
exactly. So
godly though, right?
yeah. So I mean, so the whole purpose, as I sat back and thought about, why talk about something like this, because I'm just passionate about a person being as whole and healthy
Yeah.
as they possibly can.
We want people to be
Yeah.
free. We want people to live
Exactly.
life free from all hindrances, free from all bondages and chains.
Yes.
Yep.
And when you start to walk in real knowledge and power,
Mhm.
Mhm.
shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
You operate on a level that you are vindicated or released from these
Mhm.
chains that bind you. You can't walk in true power if you're in bondage.
That's
Yep.
true.
That's
So
true. And go ahead.
I'm saying you can't exercise real knowledge if your mind is captivated by other things. You have to be free. And that's
Yeah,
what we're all.
that's
That's
good.
what we want to do. We want to free people.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
it.
because I mean, we also have to understand that that's from the Christian's perspective.
No,
Mm.
I'm just
Persons
talking
following
about.
after Christ.
I'm just talking about in general purposes.
In general, okay, because you do have
Right.
some people, and I guess that's the angle I kind of want to go at, is
Yeah.
because, and then I do want to jump into Nate what you had,
Okay.
that I think will really kind of unlock Pandora's box a little bit
Uh-oh.
more,
Okay.
because a lot of people feel like if you don't like it, if you really got a problem with it, that must mean that you're religious. Because religious people are trained that that's something that you should not embrace or find any kind of acceptance for.
Mm-hmm.
Pornography.
Right.
So, which means that a person outside of a follower
Mm-hmm.
of Christ seem like, yeah, it's just normal. It's just a
Should be
normal
okay
thing.
with it.
Yeah, but I guess I want to bring it whether you're a believer or not a believer. You know, we all have to step back, and if we do something, if we do anything religiously, we have to ask ourselves, okay, is it benefiting us,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
or is it impacting us in a way that we don't see because we're so engrossed into it,
Yeah.
that we can't step back far enough to see, okay, how's this really affecting me?
Right.
Right.
Because that's really not the case. The religious part of it is that's not the case. Anything that controls you, that's a vice.
Yeah, there
So
you go. There you go.
yeah, if it's taking you away from your normal and you can't say, well, I'm not or I won't, you're being controlled, whether you want to chop it up as, oh, this is just what I do or what I love or whatever reason you may come up with. Can you stop doing it?
Right.
Got
You
you.
know?
Got you.
And that has
Religious
nothing
or
to do
not.
with religion. Yeah, nothing to do with religion.
Under religion, but and one of the things that was said to me is, why isn't this topic talked about more so in the church?
Because it's so risque.
Yeah.
I mean, and one of the things my old pastor he mentioned that very same question,
Mhm.
and he surmised that it's probably because there's so many people that are struggling with it
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
from the leadership on down.
Correct.
And if the
Right.
leadership is struggling with it, they probably don't want to talk about it too much.
And another thing is the church likes to give the appearance of true pure holiness. Nothing. Well, we don't do anything wrong. You know.
Mhm.
Well, if
So-
and if that's the case, then a person
Yeah,
who's looking to come to the church,
that's
Right.
the problem.
or yeah, they would wonder, okay, why do I go there? Because they're
Right.
already perfect, and I'm still a work in
Right.
progress. So I don't belong there, and I think that is one of the. And I'm not saying run out and just talk about it.
Mhm.
I don't know how it should be approached. I'm gonna say that, but it needs to be more approached. Like people talk about finances, how to improve their finances, because a lot of people, not just families,
Mhm.
but families too, but people drown and can never get ahead because they don't know how to be proper stewards over what they have or what they make, what to do with their money.
Right.
People
Mhm.
talk, they talk about your health in church because they want to see people do more self-care
Mhm.
and just rest a little bit more.
Mhm.
Don't get so stressed about work, because those are factors that are really causing a person to be broken in some areas of their life. So then I don't understand why this is something that, man, it's just, we just don't talk about that. You should, and I've heard this said, you should just, you should know you just shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's a taboo subject. It's really one of those addiction issues that are like
Yeah.
risque and more private than the others. You can talk about drug addiction, alcohol addiction in church, and all this other, but you talk about porn addiction. Now
Yeah.
you're opening up some areas that a lot of folks are not familiar with and don't really know how to broach the subject.
Mhm.
I think the best way to talk about it in any setting is just to talk about it.
Yeah.
You just put it out there and expose it for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nate, you were talking about you threw some points out today before we started. So you want to hit those?
Well, I was really just wanted to kind of get you guys' opinion on just the relationship aspect of conquering the effects of porn. We know that it can impact intimacy and it can impact your relationship, especially if you're married.
Mhm.
But my example was if I'm a married person and my wife or spouse is off at work and I'm at home all day just watching my favorite actress on videos all day I'm watching.
Mhm.
Okay. And at some point, before my spouse gets home, I'm all worked up and the fantasies in my head have been boiling all day. And she come home and I'm trying to take out what I've been ingesting on her.
Hmm.
Or if it don't happen the way I think the fantasy should go, then I'm looking at her funny. Or I'm resenting her for not meeting the fantastical imagery that's in my head.
Mhm.
And I think that's a problem because at some point, nobody can live up to the fantasy. Nobody can outdo the fantasy. That's a losing game every time.
Right.
Especially if I've all day long I've played out situations in my head and I've seen the images and I determined what I was going to try to do, and I'm gonna do it like this and it's gonna go like this, and in my head it's all worked out because my fantasy is perfect.
Right.
But the reality can be a very disappointing thing. and that can impact how I relate then now sexually to my spouse, because she's not meeting me at the point where I have imagined she would, because the fantasy can never be beaten, can never be outdone, because it's not real.
Right. So it beats reality every time.
Yeah, and reality can sometimes be a sore disappointment. So how does one manage that? And that's one of the dangers, man, because it can impact your marriage, your relationships.
Well, you got some people say, Nate, to that they use it for fresh ideas.
And I can understand that.
Okay. What do you say to that?
I mean, it's one thing to pull out the Kama Sutra book and pick out a few positions and say, oh, I'm gonna try these. Or you watch the video, say, I'm gonna try those. But now if you go to the point where I'm going to try these and I want my spouse's response to be exactly what I saw in that video.
Right.
I want her body to respond the same way. I want her verbal response to be the same way. I want her to sweat beads of sweat just like this woman was sweating. I want it all the same.
Yeah.
And when it happened like that, then
That's two people let down.
Two people are let down. Then you open up a whole Pandora box of emotions and towards your spouse, and then it can affect how she looks at you, and then the intimacy is taken out of the sexual compatibility of your relationship, because now you're just trying to mimic what you saw on screen and make an object out of your wife or your husband, depending on who the person is. You're objectifying them, and you're not really trying to connect with them. You're trying to recreate the fantasy.
That's big.
Yeah.
Wow. And you know what? I'm gonna go back because that's good, Nate. That is good. That's truth. But I got to go back and ask the question. When you set all this up just now, did you say? I know you said you were at home the whole day. Does your significant other have any idea that you have a collection, and this is how you spend your pastime?
I mean, probably not. Probably not. You know, and I would imagine that no spouse would be like, "Oh, you sitting there watching porn all day long? Go for it."
No.
You know, I don't imagine that a regular couple would be like, "Okay."
Right.
Oh, now I gotta go at you, Nate. What do you mean by regular? What do you mean by regular?
When I say traditional, I put traditional couple.
Okay.
Traditional.
I'll put traditional couple
Because we don't throw nobody off the bus.
I'm not trying to offend any open lifestyles or anything.
Yeah.
A traditional couple would probably not, the wife would probably not look favorably upon knowing that the husband is at home with his collection of videos and whatever, watching.
Well, can you imagine her saying, "All right, you do this and be ready when I get home"?
Okay. Hey guys, I just want to throw this in here. We have a guest. I guess.
Okay.
All right.
Sweet.
And you know what? I did not ask him how he wanted me to introduce him, but I will. I can see him, so you can shake your head, yes or no. Do I put the title in front of your name? Yes. No. I can't hear you. I can just see you, yes or no. Okay. So, well, this is our guest. I'll say, I'm trying to read his body language. Well, this is a very good friend of mine. Yeah, this is a very good friend of mine, and I think that I wanted to bring him in because I think that he can shed some good insight on this discussion that we're talking about. This is Elder Eric Martin.
All right.
Can you hear
Welcome.
Elder Eric Martin.
Hey.
Welcome.
Welcome. How are you?
So this is knowledge and power of old guys, right?
That's right.
Gray. I'm looking at all this gray around here.
The wisdom.
Yeah.
It's the beauty of the old man.
Yeah. How are you doing, E?
Okay, I'm here. Go ahead.
That's good. Okay, so we just jumped into our conversation, and we just been talking about, of course, the subject of pornography. And tonight's topic, Nate, what's the name of the topic tonight? The title.
Conquering the Porn Effect.
Yeah, and we pretty much just share with our audiences tonight. We close out this topic that we just kind of want people to walk away just with an open mind, to just kind of be able to not be so not be so engrossed into something that they can't see for themselves, if it's adding anything to them or if it's detracting anything from them, from their growth as a person. So people talk about everything else, from finances, how to improve your finances. If you're struggling, how to improve your health. If you are not doing a good job of resting and eating well. But this subject here is kind of a taboo subject that people kind of steer away from, and they just kind of feel like, you know what, you just know better than doing that. You should just know better. Don't do that.
I don't know if it's a taboo subject anymore as it is. It's more about embarrassment because of the fact that when you're talking about the history of the church and dealing with particular addictions, we always have this mandate of, well, Christ has set you free, therefore you don't have any more issues once you become born again. That the fact that you don't have to go through a struggle, that alone is, I won't say misteaching, but I'll say it might be an exaggeration of the truth, right? Because of the fact that we know if you are born again and yet you're still obese, right, and you haven't taken steps in a born again experience to begin to reduce the overall weight, where we have the preponderance of evidence that being obese can contribute to many health issues, we tend to kind of just overlook it. But when we start talking about issues that are what I call heart issues and mind issues and spirit and soul issues, not spirit issues, soul issues, when you're talking about any kind of addiction, right? We have this mentality that, well, this must be something that you're doing wrong. It's about willpower. And we mimic and mirror the same attitude that our society has with people with addiction. All you need to do is just stop. You just need to go cold turkey. I heard a little bit of the conversation. There is actually science behind pornography, what causes the addictions. They mimic the power of addiction in some of the more popular, I won't say popular, well-known drug addictions such as crack, cocaine, crystal meth, and now opiates, right? We tend to give those things a little bit more, well, in most Christian circles, we tend to give those things a little bit more grace. But in terms of pornography, because we think that, you know, it's a situation where you volunteer, it's an urge that you can't keep under control. Well, if we could keep our sexual urges under control, Paul would not write in 1 Corinthians, as an example, the things that you need to do in order to just flee from fornication, just to escape from fornication. So if it was an issue that you could just go turkey, then even I think even back in the days of the apostles, the day of Paul, and specifically addressing the Corinthian church, then he wouldn't have given them suggestions of how to do that and give them the spiritual code, if you will, of what happens when you fornicate. What is the spiritual exchange, the binding of one soul to another person. So we're still treating this because it's taboo and because of the fact that so many people have experienced it, don't want to talk about it. It's personally embarrassing. In the church, we don't tend to deal with it. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys recommend various websites you can go to. I find it fascinating. The people who are not thinking about Christ, but are just addressing the issue of pornography, they look at it from a more scientific point of view, talking about how it affects productivity in the workplace, what it does overall in sexual performance, what it does in terms of the endorphins being burned out like any other person that's addicted. And they're not thinking about the spiritual aspects. And so we see there, in my opinion, we see that the fact that this information is here is relevant and it affects everyone. Okay, well, let me rephrase it. It affects men mostly, but the numbers are showing that at least in the United States, right, that pornography among women is starting to increase. Now, there's various reasons beyond that, but I don't want to get to that point. I think, again, for the church, and when I say the church, I'm saying in general, most people cannot find an area to be open, be vulnerable, be accountable, and get assistance because it's a situation that we treat it differently. Now, it gets back to the old addicts, right? All sin is sin, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we got the butcher shop mentality. There are some sins that are just more than others, and there are some sins that you get a lot of grace for, and there are other sins that you don't. And I think that's part of the issue. I know, I know from my personal life coming through, you know, being exposed to pornography at a very young age, 7. I remember after becoming born again, thinking, okay, I'm free. I don't have this burden anymore. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not trying to have a mentality, so on and so forth. I'm just going to be with the Lord. But the reality is that, like any addiction, whether it's sugar or fat or unhealthy food, or if we want to go into the higher tier addictions, you have to fight that every day. You have to understand the mentality behind it. And you can go to some people, God bless them, they went to a prayer line, got hands laid on, or had someone that speak a word in their life, and they got over the circumstance and the situation. But that's not everybody's story.
And not everybody's story.
You know, it's just like alcohol. I mean, listen, this is 2022. You know what the number one addiction was from, say, I'll pick a date, 1910 to about 1975. You know what the number one addiction was in the church?
What's that?
Alcohol.
Alcohol. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
Alcohol,
And,
Which is something you can see. That's visible. It's a visible addiction.
Right.
Well, yeah. Well, for some,
For the most part.
because you're thinking about the person that's intoxicated coming out of a bar. But there were many Christians who would go to church on Sunday.
Yeah.
After having or let me reverse it. They would have a bender on Friday, get sober on Saturday, and wind up in church on Sunday. So my point, and prohibition kind of expanded or exasperated that addiction, right? Because nationwide we had a policy that not only the consumption of alcohol was illegal, as well as the selling. So what did we see? We saw prominent ministers, prominent preachers, prominent people who had a moral code could speak into and about the kingdom of God. What did we find out? And I'm not going to mention their names here because that's not the sum total parts of their life, right? But we know that their lives ended somewhat in scandal because of alcohol addiction. And the mindset was, even after those people had found themselves in that circumstance, situation, some committed suicide, some of them died, because they didn't have an avenue, they didn't have a place to speak. Well, when Alcohol Anonymous came along, you'll be not surprised how many Christians wound up in Alcohol Anonymous, because the 12-step program there was one of the first steps to acknowledge that you have an addiction. What does Jesus tell us? He says, hey, now's the time that we are looking for worshipers. The Father is looking for worshipers who will worship in the spirit and in truth. Well, the truth is facing your issue. That's part of the worship, right? The interaction, because worship is the interaction between God and man on a personal level. So to come to the Father and not having this particular issue and being open to the discussion before the Creator that we're saying that we are now giving our lives to the Son that we now owe our lives to because of what He's done on the cross, it speaks to that. And I think part of the issue is that we don't have a forum. We don't have a forum to at least discuss it. And I think that's where most people are not feeling comfortable in discussing such things. And then it's one last thing. I'm sorry, and I'll shut up. The last thing.
Keep on, bro.
People who we go to look for accountability, they tend not to have grace. They tend to more exasperate condemnation. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't hold someone accountable, but there are steps to accountability.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's funny. It's funny you going here. That's where I was going to lead to after you got done talking. So go
Okay,
ahead.
well, I'll shut up.
No, you're doing great. Because I was going to ask, what does accountability look like?
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Steps.
ask. What's the best practices for accountability in this situation?
I think best accountability in this situation, first of all, is to have an ability to listen.
Okay.
Okay. We want to draw a conclusion. Like, for example, with the four of us here, if I came to Nathan and Nathan doesn't know me from a hole in the wall, right? And I say, Nathan, I got this problem with pornography. I can't stop looking at it. I don't want to do it. I'm a married man. I'm satisfied with my wife, but I have this addiction. If Nathan is not putting the energy in listening, right, he's going to hear pornography and your problem instead of hearing the real more part of it is that I don't want to do this anymore. I have this problem. It's not about sex. It's about the fact that I can't seem to stop doing this or stop involving myself into this, and I know that it's wrong. And that's where a lot of people, and I think that's not only to just pornography, anytime we talk about accountability, you as the person is trying to be that accountability partner, you got to be able to listen and hear not only what they're saying, but more importantly, how they're saying it. Because a lot of people, well, not a lot of people with addiction, right?
Yeah.
The ones who are really trying to get out of their addiction have already understood that they are addicted. You
Right.
don't have to convince them. The second step, and I'll take a step back. The second step in accountability is to create an environment of empathy, not saying, "Oh, that's okay," and pat you on the hand. Empathy and saying, "I understand your pain. Now let's figure out where this is coming from, where the addiction is coming from." See, those are the kind of things that create an environment for a person to be vulnerable to another person, right? But we're not talking about like confessing our sins before a priest and he's taking down notes. But it gives the freedom, because that's where the addiction gets its most strength. I don't want anybody to know.
Right.
I don't want anybody to figure this out. I'm going to ruin my reputation. But on the same token, while I want to hold on to these particular weights, I'm also got that burden of having that craving, and that's what it is, having that craving creep up every couple of days, every weekend, whatever the timeline is.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow, that's good.
That was a well right there.
Yep. So timeline. Is it fair if you are the accountability partner that's trying to help someone? I know you talked about empathy and all of that, but is there a cutoff point at some point if it's like they just keep drawing back to it? I mean, because that's the thing that I think, that shame that you mentioned and that embarrassment, I think that's the thing that I would tell you if I asked any one of you guys to be my accountability partner and you check in on me, because I don't want you to be disappointed in me, I would lie and say, "Oh, no, I'm doing good," because I'm afraid
or embarrassed
that you have given me,
Yeah.
or embarrassed that it has been a whole summer or 9 months and I don't feel like I've improved, and I don't want to disappoint you.
Are you asking me or guys?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
So
Should we
I
give
think
a timeline?
I think having a timeline is okay. Let me take a step back to go forward. If the accountability person is not someone that's actually had to go down that road, then they're going to have a timeline. If it's someone that's actually been a recipient of that addiction, then they should know by their own experience that there is no timeline, right? What's the whole key in terms of whether it's Alcoholics Anonymous or 12-step program of a ministry that's in Detroit that deals with alcohol and drugs that we well know, is the fact that if you've been down that road and you are now free, you are a better teacher, right? You are a better accountability partner because you know where the pitfalls. You know that there's no timeline. Again, as I say, when you go in the prayer line, there are some people, and we know this, is that they can get prayed for and never pick up a piece, watch another piece of pornography for the rest of their lives, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
There are
Mhm.
other people who can. If I use a scripture, I'm thinking about, excuse me, I'm thinking about two examples where Jesus had, right? The 10 lepers, right?
Okay.
He healed the 10 lepers, only one came back, right? So in
Right.
order for that one to come back, whatever, however they walked down the road, that one had to come all the way back to give Jesus the glory, right? The other
Mhm.
9 went about their lives. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
why didn't the other 9 at some point, whether they walked another half mile, a block, 2 inches after the other guy said, dude, I'm healed, I got to go back and see this dude, right? Nobody else came back. The other example is that when Jesus restores the sight, and I hate that term, so let me use it accurate. When he actually builds new eyes for a man who was born without eyes,
Yeah.
what did he have to do? Right, he had to go in, do a process, using spit, using clay,
Mhm.
and
Up in the
recreate the eye.
water. Yep.
Mhm.
And the last one is where the gentleman said he saw, maybe it's the same person, but he said he saw men as trees.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's the
Yeah.
same
How many
guy.
times did he have to do the application?
Like 3 or 4.
Right. So
Yeah.
is there a timeline? A person who understands addiction, whether they have experienced it or trained, would know that there's not a time limit. That every person is different
Mm.
because every impact is different in terms of where we're talking about this addiction. Some addictions, and particularly with pornography, and so I'm speaking from experience. Some addictions have everything to do with uh, issues of imagery and issues of sex. In other words, I attach a image to sex, therefore I must now make an association, or my mind makes an association.
Right.
For some people, pornography is a means of relief
Release. Yep.
and release, not necessarily release from sexual tension, but how about his life is not going well?
Mhm.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Times that we've heard people say that the reason they got addicted to drugs was simply because that they were escaping some pain. Now
Yeah.
I've always cringed at that statement because it's used in such a blanket form. But
Yeah.
for some people, whatever their trauma is in their lives, they feel that the best thing that they can do is gravitate towards, right, the 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 thing that gives them a hit, a release, and in that moment, it's not like they get the hit, now they can think clearly and go on. And that's the deception of really addiction, is the fact that once you get that first hit, your timelines. If you're talking about timelines, right? You're
Yeah.
talking about timelines from the first hit to the next hit to the next hit to the next hit gets shorter and shorter and shorter.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And so that you have that, and so
Mm.
this is, and to extend it to certain other addictions, because like I said, we're talking about food and stuff like that. I because you mentioned about people wanting to get healthy. I am amazed that I can talk to people who are 300 pounds, talking about they know that they got an issue, right? They
Yeah.
know that they need to make lifestyle changes, that they need to start moving their body. They know that this extraordinary amount of weight is not good for them, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they went to one program and they fell off, and they went to another program and then they stopped. And I'm going like, okay, but the truth is still here. You still got to get that weight off your body.
Yeah.
And if you got to go through 15 programs, then go through 15 programs.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And that's where accountability comes in. You gotta have the mentality of one size does not fit all.
Mhm.
And I think that's where an accountability person is a person that is just keeping it real. Yeah, I know how you feel, or better yet, if a person is falling off the wagon, a good accountability person, whether they've gone through it, but I think highly if they have, they know Yeah, man, I know what you're doing, right? And let's talk. Let's think about where we can go. And
Yeah.
what you're trying to do is not bring in shame. You're trying to bring in enlightenment. You're trying to bring the freedom because that's basically what the addiction is. It's a form of slavery. And
Yeah.
you know, if I can use that term, every time Harriet Tubman went to go get a free slave, right? There was
Yeah.
always one where
They gave
she's like,
pushback.
yeah, you know, I'm going back. Well, you might not go with us, but you ain't going back. We'll make sure that we let you out right here, right now. And it's from this aspect of, for that person, the fear of freedom, right? The fear
Yeah.
of it was greater than the freedom itself. This is another reason why the children of
Wow.
Israel grumbled and complained that every time they came to a crisis, not everyone obviously, but a majority of them did, they panicked because the fear was greater than the opportunity, right, of
Mhm.
God showing himself great. And so addiction has that. And I think accountability partners have to be real. You
Yeah.
know, let's take all the tapestry off of the religious hocus pocus and nice words and all this other kind of stuff. But let's just be real for a minute. And this is where, for me, accountability comes from. And I'll say one last thing. You know, the persons who have the most difficult time in finding an accountability person?
Who's
Who's
that?
that?
People in ministry.
Oh yeah,
Because the perception is what? If you're a minister of the
you're
gospel,
good.
You got it
got
all
no
together.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
you got it all
problems.
together. Yeah.
You have been fixed of all.
Right.
Or if you're gonna have a problem, it better be something new. You can't keep repeating the same thing.
No, you better not have a problem. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Right.
Oh.
We don't want.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We don't want the
I
minister to
ask-
have a problem with no problems at all. You
Man,
should be.
you better
You are
not
the
have a
epitome.
problem.
You are the example. You are the model
Your
which I
kids
strive
better be
toward.
right.
That
Their
is sad.
grades better be right. You know what I'm saying? Come
Mhm.
on.
Yeah, that is sad.
That's true.
And that's religious. That's religion. That's not kingdom. And that's where you're at.
Okay, so I am going to close out with this last question that I'll throw out there to everybody who wants to answer on the screen here. But yeah, thank you, man. You just came in and brought
Wow.
you just
Yeah.
ushered in seriously some great
Yeah.
knowledge,
Really
some
appreciate
kicks
that
of wisdom,
information.
for real.
Appreciate your input. Really.
Thank
But my question is, I'll end with how we ended last week by asking the question that we haven't answered yet. Is, do you think it's a good idea if you have a spouse? And for those who feel like, I don't need a spouse just to have sex with, I can, have sex with whoever I'm dating or whatever. So, fit in, get in where you fit in. But should you tell your significant other that you have a struggle with the problem? And anybody can answer.
I'll go last.
Okay. Yeah. And then once y'all answer the question, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up my dinner for the night at the Ford Garage. So y'all gotta hurry up.
Oh, wow. Okay. My answer to that is, especially if you're married, I always think it's a good idea.
You said it is or is not?
I think it is a good idea because secrets destroy more than truth sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd say it's a good idea because you wouldn't want them to find out by happenstance or by just being caught. It would be more devastating to that person rather than you revealing, hey, help me with this, or yeah, it's a struggle or whatever.
Okay.
Okay, so I can't answer any question with a straight answer.
Do you want me to get my answer before you give yours? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think that the idea would be great if you can share that information. But I'm from the reality of you got to know who your significant other is because everybody can't handle that information.
Well, yeah, definitely that too.
And that's basically where I was going to come from. You have to read the room first and foremost.
Read
If
the room.
if
I like that.
if it's an issue, let's say this: you get married and now, through the passage of time, you get an addiction, right, to pornography. Then it's a situation where the relationship has changed, and you need to be able to read the room, because when you get that information out, depending how your spouse takes it, they may not be in a position to hear anything beyond, I have a pornography addiction. They'll take that possibly as an affront to themselves, affront to them, that somehow is there. So I would say, yes, I think you should, but I think you just have to create the environment so the discussion can come forth. It is the equivalent if your spouse came to you and say, I got $45,000 in credit card debt. Hopefully your spouse will do it in such a way where it's just like, not, I'm getting ready to go to work. Oh, by the way, I got 45K in debt. Right?
Deal with it.
Like,
Right.
I don't think anybody, right, no matter if it's the husband or the wife, will appreciate that kind of a conversation, as
Right.
opposed to sitting down and saying, we need to have a serious talk. It's about my personal debt, right? And I'm having a hard time mastering it, and it's going to affect our family, so on and so forth. Then you have the tools of engagement that will allow for that discussion, hopefully, to become positive. It's no guarantee, because again, they just like the saying, I got a pornography addiction, they may take it all the way to the other extreme and say, I can't believe you did this, so on and so forth, and be ready to run you out of town. So I think that, again, in my opinion, you have to be able to know who your spouse is. I mean, Paul makes a statement, you should dwell with them with knowledge, talking about your wife or your spouse's case. And I think you got to know who they are. And so create the environment so that there's a discussion, that you're trying to come to terms. And I think most people in a relationship, in a marriage relationship, can work with that, as opposed to just, coming to them, holding their hands, I got a pornography addiction,
Right.
and then walk away.
That's great advice. Great advice.
Excellent. Yes.
That being said, I will close out with our wisdom nugget. I'll pull it from this conversation and parlay it from this conversation with the Black Panther, the line in the Wakanda forever. I'm not going to call it the Black Panther. So
give us the wisdom. Give us the wisdom.
So all of us at some point in life are broken and are known as broken people. And the line in Wakanda Forever was, the most broken people make the greatest leaders.
I heard that.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. That was from the fish dude. What's his name? That's what
Namor.
That's what my man kept calling. He kept calling the fish guy. That was
Namor.
hilarious.
What's up, Mariner?
My favorite line was, they called him Kukulkan.
Y'all spoiling it for me. Don't say nothing else.
I'm sorry.
Don't say nothing else.
I'm sorry.
Oh man, you see the trailer by now, bro.
I've not watched anything.
Okay.
Right. I haven't seen it either.
I'm one of those guys. I don't watch nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
I watched the first trailer. That's it.
Right.
But thanks a lot, fellas.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric.
Thank
Thank you.
Next week, taking a break for the holiday, Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, happy
That's
Thanksgiving.
right. Happy Thanksgiving.
Enjoy yourselves. Eat in moderation, but enjoy. And hey, go Lions.
Go Lions. Yes, sir.
He's shaking his head. That's cute.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Yes,
guys.
sir.
All right, everybody be safe. Have a great
All
week.
right, y'all. Take care.
Yeah.
Be blessed.
Have a good one.